Why does FM make it so hard to sell your players? The Monaco manager has just stepped down, and now the PSG job is available as well. I'll be expecting a call anytime soon then. Welcome back to Youth to Gold, a 9th place finish in our second season of only signing teenagers and not using players 30 years or above to eventually get better finances than this. We only paid £2 million off the debts from last year. Bids for our best players are now coming in, and our director of football was stolen from Nice.
How dare you?
But good news, we've nailed our captain down to a new contract. And we welcomed Julian Rykhoff to the club, as well as the 2 Spanish lads we found through attribute searching. And I also spent £2.7 million on goalkeeper Luka Podolak. Arguably the hardest position during a Youth to Gold save. I think we need to give him some first team games immediately to see how well he develops. At age 19, he's 6'6". But I really am struggling to sell anybody. And I've got a very small budget left. We have 3 players aged 29 and I can't get rid of any of them, including Healy, who turns 30 in December. We still have Oscar Gluck despite him wanting to leave, not 1 ounce of interest. Unlucky. After 2 seasons apart, Bordeaux is back in our first game of the season. So the first Garonne derby of Youth to Gold will happen. And it was debutant Julian Rykhoff who sets off with a great start, scoring in the 43rd minute. Spearings had an opportunity to make it 2 from the spot, but he missed. And Bordeaux went right down the other end and equalised immediately. I was almost losing my head, but thankfully Anthony Rowe, our captain, was there to make it 2-1. And we got the first derby bragging rights of the year. The following match outside of the penalty miss was very similar when Rykhoff scored the first goal. And once again, we couldn't hold on to the lead and Montpellier scored an equaliser. And once again, it was our captain who put us back into the lead. But this time there was a third goal. We were just lucky it fell for us. 3-1. We finally sold a player, but it was Birmancevic, and it's for 2.5 million. Third game of the season, and it's a third win as we beat Cannes 6-2, with Delinga scoring a brace. We had a deal accepted to loan 18-year-old Danish centre midfielder Asp Jensen with an option to buy at the end of the deal. But our next game was against PSG, and I decided to alter the tactic to make it harder for us to be broken down, which is why now is the perfect time to subscribe, because this is a new diamond formation you are not going to want to miss us destroy PSG with. You are kidding me. Okay, so Messi's run finds Mbappe and PSG take the lead. But then, in the second half, we came out flying and Delinga scores. And then Delinga scores again and we take the lead. We have a corner with 20 minutes left and we make it 3-1 at the Parc des Princes. And it actually looks like my wild statement of why you should subscribe nearly came true. But of course, they score a fluky goal and make it 3-2. And in the 95th minute, yes, Rodrigo scores the most ridiculous angled shot ever.
Oh, God!
Now that was a tough one to take. Another tough one to take as Nantes beat us 3-2 in the 94th minute. We travelled to Nice next and Doué picked up his first goal of the season. But just after half-time, Sofiane Diop bagged an equaliser and thankfully, we finally got back to winning ways when Nicolaisen scored from a set piece. Spearings missed a penalty against Rennes. And despite us having 9 shots on target, it cost us the win. Another draw to Reims and we currently sit in 5th place. PSG also having a bad start to the season, drawing 2 and losing 1, and Mbappe already has 11 goals. We got a goal scorer of our own though. In fact, we've got a couple. New signing Rykhoff picked up both goals in a 2-0 win to kick off October with. Against Lille, we fell behind to the Canadian Jonathan David's goal, but here comes Julian again, and in the 39th minute we pulled us back level. But quite frankly, goal of the season contender for Rykhoff, as the control was beautiful and the Trivela chip was even better. 2-1 to lose. Unfortunately, he wasn't clinical against Strasbourg, giving us another loss this season. And even more unfortunate, more followed when we lost to Lens and Monaco.
I just want it to stop.
Against Lyon, though, is a different story, and Delinga scored a hat-trick, putting us 1-0 up, and then 2-0 up. And after Lyon managed to pull themselves back into the game, they evened up the scoring, and Delinga once again popped up with the winner. PSG have climbed back to the top of the table as we enter into the festive season, and Mbappe sits on 17 goals with Delinga so close, breathing down his neck behind him on 10. Unfortunately though, Healy has played his last game for the club and he's about to turn 30. But we travelled to Marseille in his absence and they whipped in a free kick. But Delinga got himself warmed up and scored before half time. His fellow Dutch strike partner Rijkoff helped chip in and picked up a second, before Delinga capped up a fantastic win, netting a third in injury time. Against Lorient though, it was Rijkoff with the man of the match performance for 3 points. Neither of them scored next, but we still managed to get the win against Brest.
Ha! Giggity.
Those 3 wins shot us up to 3rd place, and we started January off by selling Healy. Finally, Rijkoff won the European Golden Boy Award. And I also noticed that starting right back Desler was just a month away from turning 30 as well. But before we looked to sort out that problem, we won 2 rounds of the Coupe de France. Van den Boomen started the year well, getting an assist for the first goal against Nice and then scoring a free kick himself. Unfortunately, lousy defending prevented us from keeping a clean sheet ourselves, but he did win the header, which eventually led to Rijkoff being played through, who found his strike partner Delinga, and we scored a third. But it's derby time as we take a trip to Bordeaux. But in one of his last appearances, Desler made moves down the right hand side and his cross wasn't cleared and Oscar Gluck turned the ball in the net. And although Bordeaux are down in the relegation zone, anything goes in a derby and they scored a magnificent goal to equalise through Ellis. And once again it was Desler and the space the diamond formation provides him down the right hand side, who crossed directly found Oscar, this time with the winner and the game for Toulouse. Things aren't getting any easier, it's PSG time next. And I'm telling you, we came close before. One of these days, it could even be today.
Oh, man. That's too easy.
I mean, a penalty kick to start things off for the 7th minute, that's normal. And of course, then PSG equalised through Mbappe, and you think normality will strike once again. But I have been telling you to make sure you are subscribed so you do not miss the day we destroy PSG, and today is that day. I mean, the 3rd goal is absolutely liquid football, and it is beautiful, and that cements us in 2nd place and only 3 points behind them. We also welcomed in a new signing this month in Lucas Mendoza, fantastic young Argentinian from Talleres for £4 million, who will become our starting CDM. I also found a right back target to loan for absolutely nothing with an option to buy. He is some way off the quality of Desler, but we don't really have the money yet. So I sold Desler, and then I realised after the window closed that Bloom doesn't actually join us until June.
Damn it, Carl!
Auxerre then knocked us out of the cup on penalties 9-8, with goalkeeper Podlek missing the last one. Then we lost to Montpellier after being 2-0 up. And worst of all, we go and lose to bloody Rennes. Just a 1 win in February against Nantes. Thankfully though, the Reims game got us back to winning ways, followed by another 2-0 win against Troyes with Oscar Gluck getting the first. And in a very similar fashion, a break down the wing and the ball was squared back, and this time Rijkoff tapped it in. Nico Rack is the man being tasked with the right back duties since the transfer of Desler, and he played in a win against Strasbourg with a Delinga brace. And the only blemish on March's results was a 2-2 draw from being 2-0 down to Lille. It might be counting our chickens too soon, but we are seriously in contention of Champions League football qualification here. Our youth intake only threw up one good prospect. It was a striker who's terrible at finishing. April's fixtures were tough, but the very best game was when we welcomed Monaco. 2 quick first half goals leveled the scoring just before half time, and Oscar Gluck turned the pendulum our way before Boadou's penalty made it 2-2. But it was fan favourite Van den Boomen who scored the winner in the 86th minute with a well-timed strike. Delinga also scored 2 in a 2-1 win at home to Marseille. But we did go and lose to Lyon, so that sucks. But guess what?
What?
We are 3rd, just 3 games to go, and Bordeaux are bottom. Julian Rijkoff once again put on an absolute masterclass against Brest.
Ha! Giggity.
He opened the scoring early on, but continued to be clinical and eventually got himself a hat-trick in a fantastic 5-0 win, putting us just 2 points away from Champions League football next year. We got those 3 points in the following game against Lorient and secured our highest finish ever, winning our last game 1-0. 3rd place and only a point behind bloody Rennes in 2nd. So, how much money do you think the board's going to give us for Champions League football next year? £4 million. Yeah, that's not good.